You're on air.
And good morning. Welcome to Kindasound Radio this morning, you happy listeners. The sun is out here in the UK. You are listening to the Reality Bite Show with me, your host, Wendy Smith, and my lovely guest this morning, David Ian Rogers. David, thank you for joining me.
Why, you're most welcome.
And we're going to try not to laugh our way through the whole of this because it's just going to end up in hysterics, I'm sure. So David is, I'm curious about this. I've not read your bio before you came on the show because I always like a surprise on a Sunday morning. And you are by birth a shamanic, I got to get this right, Heyoka empath. Empath? Do you like the way I sound?
You started as you mean to go on.
I have indeed. This started 10 minutes before the show kicked off, didn't it? And you offer ancient Andean clearings, trauma. I can't even speak this morning now, David. I'm going to blame you for this. Traumatic clearings for people. So you work in like the, PTSD trauma world, really.
Yeah, well, it's every kind of psychological disorder. The shamanic Heyoka empath, the empath and the Heyoka go together because three psychic mediums told me that David, what are you doing with these football teams? When I was actually using the process without knowing what it was, that
right.
It cleared my own. When it cleared my own mental illness when I lost two friends in a road traffic accident. But the shamanic Heyoka empath is basically he's the hidden ingredient to becoming enlightened, because he used to sit with the Master Buddha and he'd say, "Master, have you cleared the bad feeling?" And the Buddha would say, "I can't remember the memory." And he'd start laughing, going, and that's the true depiction of the laughing Buddha. So the Heyoka is the entity from from another planet, really.
Okay.
Who has worked out how the mind and the body are a machine and nothing to do with the spirit.
Yeah, well, I mean, we sort of know that. Well, I know that within myself. There's a lot of people probably who don't, that we've come down here. I view this as a vessel that we have to keep in good shape because it's carrying our soul about, basically, to have a nice experience while we're down here, being poisoned and imprisoned every day of the week, as we were just talking about, which is positive, happy plane of existence we've landed on. So I want to just talk about, this is Reality Bites. So I like to take people through someone's life, how they got to where they are today. Lessons, learnings, some fun along the journey. I'm sure you've had a lot of. So just to back right up then in life, your background, where did you come from? What was family life and school life for you like, and what were you like as a young David?
Backwards, because Heyoka is literally the great mirror. So I would mimic people. I came out of my mum's womb backwards. So I see things before they happen. I was a carer from the age of 6, looking after my nana and my granddad, brought up by my nana. Saw that they were all ill and made it all up just so that they could have someone to look after them because of their own lessons. So I would mimic when they were just trying to keep me from me football and going out and playing with my mates. I'd mimic them and gurn and pull funny faces and have them in stitches. So it was the early awakening of the shamanic Heyoka is becoming an empath. So you're learning to care, your service to others. So I was constantly looking after people who were less fortunate than myself, or in my mother's and my nana's case, sort of hypochondriacs.
Right.
Conditioned, of course, down to the passive dependency created by the patriarch in the family. And as a kid, I'd love to play football, but I never really. I was just playing, but I never really connected with the young kids because I'm an old soul. So as a consequence, I'd have a lot of older friends.
Right.
And when I was playing football, I'd tend to connect with the adults more than the kids because of the responsibility that was thrust upon me from the age of 6 or 7. So I was more mature for my age. despite the fact that I'm 56 now and I probably act like a 5-year-old more than I did when I was 5.
Reverting
So
back mentally now.
yeah. So when I was playing football, mate, it it really awakened really the second part, if you like, after the caring and the nurturing side of me was, and the empath was sort of awakened. The next stage was when I was 8. My nana said to me, if you ever meet anybody who gives you a bad feeling, when you just look at them and meet them and they're trying to walk off with you, you walk the other way and you'll get a knot in your stomach.
Yeah,
And 4 years later, I met Barry Bennell, the now convicted and imprisoned paedophile in
right.
football, and his friend Francis Roper, who's now dead, another paedophile in the North Manchester and South Manchester area in the 80s. And went for a trial, and I couldn't get out the neighbour's car. I just took one look at him, and a knot appeared in my solar plexus, and I'm like, and I just couldn't get out of the neighbour's van to go in his car to go for a trial in Crewe. And that was the end of my football career, really, because it
All
happened.
right.
Yeah. And so as a consequence, that was the first signpost, because that was trauma, basically. Yeah. So as a natural consequence, for the rest of my life, I was in and out of meeting people with trauma, having never experienced, thankfully, the sexual abuse that a
Yeah.
lot of kids in that era did. I still played my football, but it never got to any serious stage, because the moment I actually went to a football trial, they'd show up, and I just wouldn't be able to go anywhere near the team. I'd stand apart, and all the players and everyone was sort of curious as to why one of the best players in the area could get these trials, but then wouldn't actually go on the pitch. But it was all sort of unspoken.
Mm.
And I'd never, because I was only what, at the time, I was only 12, 13. I wasn't able to verbalize it because I didn't really understand why all of a sudden I'd just get this massive knot in my stomach. And they'd say, the coaches, the paedophile coaches, they'd just say, you're not being picked today, because they knew my energy. They knew who I was. They knew that I saw them. And
Yeah.
so and I had the terror in my whole being. And I just froze most of the time when I was around them. So they knew that. So they just wouldn't pick me.
It's interesting. The first part of that interests me that your family already were teaching you about following your gut from a very young age. I think we used to have similar things. I mean, I think my mum always hates me talking about her on the radio as well. She really does. But I'm pretty sure I was told, if anybody ever pulls up beside you in a car, you just run. So I can remember being a small kid in Boreham and people probably pulling up to ask for directions and getting sworn at and having a group of children like run off. Do you know what I mean? They probably thought we were all lunatics in Boreham, so we won't stop and ask them anyway. And always give them a swift kick if they grab hold of you, and then run.
Yeah.
I think so. We were sort of taught about intuition, but not as much as what you were told with that knot. If you get that knot, pay attention to it.
Yeah, and the knot then obviously, when it appeared, I learned to actually ingest it. And that's another trait of a Heyoka. They actually know how to get rid of the bad feeling. And
Yeah.
again, completely subconscious. So it was as if I'd done it in a past life. So as I got older, I particularly, I just had up until the age of 42 where I met Elise, it was dead end relationships. It was um, mainly platonic, but a lot were just for sexual attraction. There was only 5 of them that went into say years, 4 or 5 years, and then it just ended because there was nothing. There was nothing concrete, nothing substantial about it. And then the moment I met Elise, after an hour, I knew I had to ask her out and marry her. Hmm.
So with that then, as a child, having that empathic ability as well, and the the knowledge, obviously the pre-life knowledge that you were brought in with, did that cause you any aggro going through school? Did anybody treat you weird, or you
Did
know,
it? Yeah, the
labelled?
headmaster, Dr. Hayton, yeah, at Temple Junior School. He took me out the classes and tied my left arm behind my back and said, called me evil. Um, and he said, "What? Where are you getting these quadratic equations from?" And I'd say, "I haven't got a clue what a quadratic equation is." And he said, "Well, what are you writing? What are you writing in your book, David?" So I said, "Oh, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. It's coming out of here." And I'd see these quadratic equations, and I was obviously being downloaded, and my third
Yeah,
eye was wide open, and I'd just write them down. And they had these mathematics professors coming in, and they had all these sort of things attaching me um, to machines and the electrodes, and there was all kinds of things being tied to me. And they'd just say, "See them now," and I'd see them, and they'd say, "Where is it?" And I'd go, "It's over there," and I'd see it literally. It was the funniest thing, and they were like, "Jesus, what's going on?" And of course, I was just wide open because of my energy. I'd see all kinds of stuff, but I'd keep it quiet as a kid because if I was to tell me Nana and my granddad, me nana would understand because she was a bit of a white witch, but my
right,
granddad, he was just just a taxi driver. He was the breadwinner, and he was so grounded. The whole family was grounded. The Kerridge family on my mum's side, and the Rogers family on my dad's side. They were just salt of the earth people,
right,
and with great values, great values. Very very blessed, really. Only child, which is a Heyoka's trait. Um, and I would say, in the main, it was an ordinary childhood for me because that Aheoka's upbringing is based on caring for others. I all all the neighbours were known as my auntie and uncle,
right.
so we'd be in and out of each other's houses. My mum would cook meals for the elderly, and I'd go toddling off and sit with Mrs. Newton or Mrs. Pearson or Mrs. McCarthy, Mrs. Matterson. I can just reel them off now because I just go in the houses. Here you go. You know, when they didn't want to cook for themselves, my mum would connect with them, known them all her life when she was a little girl in the Cheetham Hill area. Still I'm in the parental house now, in the parental
Yeah,
home. I've inherited from my mum. We've done it up, me and Elise, and I'm just comfortable. People said, "David, the money you've earned now, you could go, you could have a big car and a big house." And I went, "Am I going to impress? There's no one to impress."
don't really want one, thanks. I like my house. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's
know.
just a house.
I know
Yeah,
what you mean. So did other children behave and treat you differently then throughout school, or did you not really share?
no, no, there was no difference whatsoever because um, we we w- we were, we were a really privileged family because me granddad had a couple of businesses. He had a garage, and he used to sell vehicles and car batteries and petrol. And as a consequence, he made a few bob. So as a consequence, when when I was growing up, it wasn't uncommon for me to have to go to Henry Barry's in St Anne Square and be measured up for a suit. So on a Sunday, I'd be dolled up. And we're in Cheetham Hill, which is not the most affluent area in Manchester. It's one of the most downtrodden. But because of my grandfather's earnings, I was treated like a king, really. It was incredible, and yet around me were I was known as the League of Nations by my friends because I'd have Minesh Rao, my Indian friend. I'd have an Indian on a Monday. Dennis Smith, I'd have a Jamaican on a Tuesday, and then there was Armina Patel. That was the African on a Wednesday, and then there was David Yip on a Thursday, and then Friday it was Chippy T. So I was never in. I was always with a different friend. As my dad say, "Where's the League of Nations today? Where is he tonight?" Well, it's Tuesday. He'd be with Dennis Smith. He'd be having his chicken. He'll be having his chicken jerk. But it's all sort of interwoven into who I am, and people sit because what it would do as a shamanic Heyoka, the shaman bit, it's all about conscious intent, knowing that we're all the same. We're all the same flesh and blood. And the difference was what it would do, it'd open up me culturally to accepting everybody and everyone. And once you, as a young child, once you become aware that you're seeing how different cultures interplay in the home, it opens your eyes completely to accepting nearly everything as, well, that's what they do, as opposed to one particular culture, the white Western way, if you like. So I
Yeah.
felt very, very privileged in loads of different ways. So as growing up, we would have loads of money. So when we went on school trips, I'd have butties for the whole coach. My mum would make a big sarnie and they'd just come to me and I'd just go, yeah, there you go. Because there was people there who couldn't afford to have a wash, basically, some of them. Well, so they looked and
Yeah,
changed the clothes.
that sounds like a lovely environment to grow up in, actually, or just a
Oh,
lovely
beautiful.
attitude to be able to have at that sort of age where you just see no boundaries between people.
Correct.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is lovely. That's what we really, really need to get back to. So, first song this morning, "Wake Up." Who's this by, and why do you like this one?
No idea.
Well, I
Never
hope
heard of her. It's the woman I share my life with and I've done for the last 14 years. Elise G. Rogers.
so. It's one of Elise's. Well, if you wouldn't
One
mind,
of
then
Elise's 432 hertz, I believe. I have to get that in, she says. Get that in.
I've
It
just
brings harmony.
received the CD as well, which I'm really looking forward to getting onto my laptop so I can listen to it. So, Django, if you wouldn't mind this morning, "Wake Up," please.
That's not an instruction.
And you're off air.
Okay. I've forgotten Django's brother's name. What is your name?
It's Jude.
Jude, that's it. I was going to call you Jonas for some reason. Yeah, right. I was halfway there.
Yeah.
Could have been worse. Could have called him Judas.
A lot of people do call me that.
I'm steering clear of Jude then.
David, is there any way that you can move your camera down so I can see what you...
Yeah, I'm slipping off the pillar. Sorry, I didn't realise. No.
That was just quite funny. You know them old, what were they called? The little things that used to look over the brick wall that you used to
Yeah, what do you call? I don't know now. Yeah. Funny.
something
All
like
you'd see is a little cone head.
I could just see it going further and further down.
Yeah, story of my life. Shut up. Yeah.
This goes out on YouTube as well. People are going to talk about.
Well, that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? That'd be the Heyoka there, clowning about, the sacred clown.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh, Jude's just turned D. That's it. We get about 15-20 seconds we hear of the music and then it goes off.
Thank God for that, making it every day with her. Oh, transforming my mood. She always lifts me with one of her tracks. It's unbearable. I like being miserable sometimes.
It's not nice just to sit in a heap, isn't it? Sometimes and just be miserable.
Yeah,
doesn't happen very often for me, I must admit.
I'm the same.
Not nowadays.
Gratefully so.
Even with the Gong Show going on, it's just turning out to be mildly amusing now.
Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I've got to the point where I just think, seriously, people, how much more are you going to take before you actually go, hello, something's not right here? It has got me to that point now, I must admit.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm looking forward to the riots over the petrol prices, though. I'm sure we'll get there at some point.
Unbelievable.
When it hits £5 a litre or something.
Oh, it's going to go crazy, isn't it? It's going to go stupid price. Yeah, sure.
But hey ho, we're on the lighter road now.
Let's bloody hope so. Let's hope so.
I think we are. I think we're on the tipping point. So it feels like that. I don't know how you feel energetically, but I feel it's all okay now.
Yeah, Putin seems to be putting out little droplets of information, doesn't it? Which seem to be sort of guiding us to that end game now, right towards the end point here, because they've done they've created sanctions which, quite frankly, don't mean anything really. Taking a taking a football club off an oligarch is completely meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. It just does feel very symbolic.
Got a minute till the song's done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jude.
Yeah, it is, like you say, it's more symbol of the fact that they've removed McDonald's and all of these things. I just think, wow, Russia's going to be one of the healthiest, most balanced places on the plane of existence shortly. It's going to have no corruption, no corrupt food, no corrupt processes. It'll be, I think I actually might move to Russia, David.
It sounds very appealing, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. If it wasn't for the cold out there, I think I'd already have been over there.
I enjoy the cold, to be quite honest. That must be the backwards fooling me.
Yeah, I hate sunshine. I live on sunshine.
Oh dear.
So power for me engine.
Yeah. Get that.
And you're on air.
And welcome back to Kindasound this morning on the Reality Bite Show with my guest, David Rogers. So, David, we've gone for, I still can't say it, Heyoka. Is that how you say it?
You've just said it.
I have it right.
She's just testing me there, everybody.
I am just testing
I can't say Heyoka. She just said it again.
So, Heyoka, shamanic Heyoka practices. I'm just really curious about this because I have met you before and we didn't discuss what it is that you actually do. I know you work in PTSD and trauma, but so how did you then from that process of sort of growing up, knowing you were a little bit different, not really sharing too much, how did you get into let's back up again. What did you do for a living when you left school? First of all, did you go into the therapeutic range of stuff or was it something different that you did?
No, ended up in the local council.
Oh, okay.
And and just before that, met the two friends who died in the road traffic accident.
Right.
In a local, well, I'm saying a local, it was a good 12 miles away in Wilmslow, a hearing aid company, a wealthy hearing aid company called Amplivox Ultratone, and worked there for a couple of years as an admin officer, and did the general clerical stuff. But again, it was more to do. I was very good at connecting people. They put me in charge of departments because I'd bring people together. So you'd have if you know Wilmslow at all, it's full of wealthy people. So I'm from Cheetah Mill, but because of me grandfather's background, I was able to connect with all cultures. It fitted in from my childhood. So they'd put me in the wages department, then the accounts department, and then they'd be making me link all the other departments together because of my ability to communicate with all levels of what was working in the organization. And then I got the opportunity to from doing an open university degree to go to university. And again, what happened at university was after doing a quick 1 year on open university online introduction to going on to a psychology degree, I actually ended up going to university 12 months later. It was quite a real switch to it from being non-academic, so to speak, to being quite academic. It just naturally come to me. I really enjoyed it. I was getting 90s and 92s and 93s and 94s in the assignments. So it was quite a surprise to me, really, because throughout school I was just playing football. I went to an all boys school. It was a grammar school, North Manchester Grammar School. Then it changed into being a non-grammar school halfway through. The head teacher, Alan Atherton, the father of Michael Atherton, who was the England cricket captain.
Right.
He creamed up all the sporting talent, and we ended up playing football all over the Northwest, really. And it was really surprising that I ended up going to university. I just did it because I was interested in psychology. Why? Because when I ended up from the hearing aid company going to the local council, it was quite funny because at the council there was all these political games going on, and a Heyoka doesn't do political games. He just says what's going on, and the nature of my work is that I all I have to do is show up, and people will start getting all nervous and not being able to speak like you started at the start of the radio interview, and it's just that's the energy that runs through me. So I'd be in a meeting and a council meeting and with departments, and I'd be involved in the right to buy your own council house scheme and the service charges and all the different ramifications goes on for people who've been in their own council property for so many years, and then they'd be entitled to buy their own property at rock bottom price. So I got shifted from one department to another one meeting, and then was in the meeting, and he said to me after about 2 or 3 weeks in the job, David, how are you finding the dealing with the service repairs? So I said, oh, it's great. Apart from one thing, we've got a 6-month backlog on certain areas because of a situation we've got going on. So what's that? So I said, well, Billy Wiz has been sleeping with somebody else's wife, and he's working at the depot where all the jobs get sorted out. And every time he goes to ask a job to be put right, my predecessor, because he's all angry at what's gone on with him and this chap and his wife, he's just building up a backlog of 6 months repairs. And he went, how do you know that? I said, well, on my day off, I went to that particular depot and introduced myself as the new guy. And he went, yeah, I'll get it all sorted for you. He just told me what was going on and why there was a backlog. And they were looking at me going, you had a day off to go and find out why there was a 6-month backlog. They were incredulous to it. They had 4 previous people gone there, and they'd left because they couldn't understand why nothing was getting done. And he was just peeing off the people who were coming after that particular person had done what he was doing. He wasn't even interested in, he knew it was that particular department that person was working in. So what they did, they tried to, this particular person, just to try to make him really, really angry because of what he'd done to him. So the Heyoka just has different ways and means of tricking people into telling them what's the real reason for the problem, because a lot of people don't like talking about the problem. So again, that's another trait of a Heyoka. They if there's a problem, they'll find out what the root cause of the problem is. So I'll trick people into telling me the truth just by being silly. Yeah.
So the humour tends to help with a lot of things when it comes to softening and finding things out.
Yeah, well, people think you're a fool. And the Freemasons know that the head of their organization is the sacred fool who can't be controlled. He's the 34th and 35th vertebra who's never invited to any of the meetings. They know that the fool completely disarms the prefrontal lobe cortex, which is basically the 34th vertebra, which is the 33 vertebra, which is seen as the human being, and then the 34th and 35th is the Heyoka, the sacred fool, the sacred clown.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that before. That's something quite interesting.
Oh, Charlie will tell you that when he had the this guy who was involved in the Freemasons, and he came out of it, and he did an interview with Charlie, and that's the second time that I'd heard it from that interview. And the 2 grandmasters of the lodge Freemasons that I met, that when I was in conversation with them, they went, "Oh, you're the jester," and I'd go, "Well, yes, a bit of a fool, yes, yes," and they'd go, "Oh, you're seen as the joker in the pack, the head of the human race," and I'd go, "What?" So I'd do my own research, and what, of course, the Joker in a pack of cards is the one that's not involved in any other aspects of the four sets, if you like, of the cards, because the Joker is the person who looks over and sees that it's just a game. It's just a game that's played.
On that tip, before we break for another song, is that how you do your therapy as well? Does that involve?
I mimic. Yeah, they're going, I've got this problem, I've got that. And I'll go, I know, I've got this problem. And they go, and they break out of the instant, and they go, and I go, and they go, what are you doing? I said, I'm just mimicking you. You want me to believe it. It's all right, load of shit. And they go, and then I use a process to delete it. And then they can't get the memory back, the thought, or the feeling, and it never comes back.
It sounds like we work in very similar ways. So I'm curious about this one. I'm going to find out about this in a minute. So song number 2, Free Again.
Yes, sounds like it. Yes, let's hope so.
So who's this one by? Is this another?
Oh, you never guess.
Never guess. Another Elise, the lovely Elise Rogers.
Elise G. Rogers, yes. The transformative musician herself, yes.
Is this 4-3-2 as well?
Again, yeah, 4-3-2, harmony, upliftment. It's terrible, isn't it?
It's terrible on a Sunday morning. Who wants harmony and uplifting on a Sunday morning? Hey? So, Jude and Django, if you wouldn't mind then, please, a bit of Free Again for us.
You're off air.
Lovely job. Yeah, I'm curious as to like the therapy stuff, because we only had a brief chat about it, didn't we, when we met at dinner? And it sounds like we do similar things. I always say I don't think people find I laugh at everything, so I can't help it. So when I'm doing sessions with people, they'll get into subject matter and I'll start laughing. It's obviously, it is helpful for the clients, or I hit them with a brick. That's the other way.
Oh, it's perfect. Either way works, because what you're doing, you're distracting the tape that's running in the head.
Yeah.
That they're believing in. Whereas a Heyoka won't believe that bullshit.
No.
He knows it's bullshit. He knows it's just a pre-programmed, conditioned response to the first 7 years of that little girl or little boy's life.
Yeah.
And that's what I know I'm here to delete.
Yeah. And I'm going to go into this in a minute. What process do you use to then delete it? Because I use a recoding process where I literally lock on I disassociate the emotions into a colour, and then get the unconscious to track that back to when it first learnt it, and then recode that from that space and lock it back in, so the emotional content has gone.
Gotcha. That's very, very similar, only mine is basically using the Keys of Enoch, which is a very old book that was taken out of the Old Testament in 1611. And Enoch was the guy who knew that all the thoughts and memories from the first 7 years, epitomized by the Aristotle line, show me the boy at 7, I'll show you the man.
Oh, yeah,
basically, those memories, thoughts and feelings are trapped in the reptilian brain. And what the Keys of Enoch is a phrase I use without thinking. And this mind goes, without thinking what? Without thinking what? Because it's the prefrontal lobe fight or flight mechanism. As soon as I say without thinking, this mind goes, what? Just allow the first bunch of memories to come in relation to feeling abused. And it goes, and they go, and goes there and brings it back to here, the prefrontal lobe, which is the delete button for the human mind. So as a consequence, they're going, oh my God, I forgot about this memory. And they're in there straight away. And I'm looking away. I seldom look at the client when I'm online, when I'm working with them. And all I'll do is just go, those memories now, just allow 1 or 2 thoughts to just tell you the story as to what's going on in those memories it's all done in close contact. So sometimes all I know is that we're dealing with abuse memories, abandoned memories, betrayed memories, depressed memories, envy memories. And I just do the A to Z clearing of all the negative emotions, which are basically the traumatic symptoms of trauma or child abuse, which has been proven in the last 30 years psychiatric research to be the root cause of all mental and physical conditions. So I've been clearing in the last 16, 17 months, epileptic fits, seizures caused by trauma, schizophrenia, you name it, all the mental conditions, fibromyalgia, eating disorders, addiction, which is basically I need a drink, I need a drink. It's nothing to do with the drink. It's
Right.
I need and once I disconnect the mind, thoughts, created feelings, craving, needing. Do I need a drink? Do I need how can I forget it? Once I disconnect that feeling,
Yeah.
then someone who tries to have a cigarette will throw up like you do for the first time when you have a cigarette.
Yeah.
Or if you're offered a drink when you've not got the craving or the need to cover up the hurt emotions, once you've got rid of the need for the drink,
It's
you can just say no
the
thanks.
emotion. This is where a lot of therapy has failed in the past, because they were looking at removing triggers or becoming cognitively aware of what it is you're doing. And I've always said, when I came across this technique that I used, and the guy who developed it, I'll have a conversation with him about him some other point. But yeah, absolutely fascinating. You know, you get trigger driver behaviour. Triggers are everywhere. We'd be at it for billions of years trying to get rid of your triggers. It's
Yeah,
the driving emotion that runs the behaviour.
yeah,
So if we can
and
do something with the driving emotion, then the behaviour stops. We don't have to worry about triggers.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's a
and
very similar process by the sound of it. Well, yeah,
very, very similar. Yeah, because then once but I need the soul's permission to work with each person.
right.
So I ask a question. Once we've accessed the emotion,
Oh no, I forgot to say that you. Wait.
Kindasound Radio, the station for a global
dear.
community.
perfect timing, Jude. Perfect
You're on
timing.
air.
Indeed. And welcome back to Kind of Sound this morning. While David and I were chatting in the break, Jude and Jane nearly forgot to tell us we're going back on air. So you guys would have had a very interesting conversation. I'm like the dobber, aren't I? I'm dobbing people in now, going, if you only knew what happens behind the scenes when we're doing this. So what I want to wander into, David, now is sort of a follow-on from what we were just talking about in the break, which is the process, how it works. How did you get into doing this as a therapy? So when did that stop it? Seriously, this is just going to go. By the way, listeners, me and David are on a video call. So I'm seeing facial expressions and stuff in case you wonder why I keep laughing all the way through this. You'll have to watch the video. So, David, when did you get out of the realms of the council then? Because I know you ended up from the council, you ended up then being a bit of a Mackenzie friend for people in courtroom experiences, which was an interesting journey. And then you've moved into therapy. So that transition through there, number one, how did you end up helping people out in court? And then from there, how did it transition into you now working in therapy?
Cool. 22 years ago, which was I had a career as a teacher from leaving the council, going to university and coming out, ended up being a qualified teacher. And about 4 years into my teaching career, I had a car accident,
right,
where I was completely unharmed, and my two best friends who were pushing the car at the back got smashed to bits by a guy who fell asleep at the head of his wheel on a 7-hour journey and had a 1-hour break. And I miraculously escaped injury. 3 weeks later, I was interviewed by the police, and they told me that 4 eyewitnesses saw me 20 feet above the vehicle, right above the vehicle at the time of the smash. And I was outside the vehicle, well, I thought I was, steering the car. And I went to throw up because I saw my Timberland boots, my jeans, and my Barber jacket at the time when the first police officer said that to me. I literally remember being up in the air at the time of the accident in my mind's eye. Didn't think much of it because of what ensued afterwards.
Yeah.
5 years after the accident, I went to see my best friend's mum to see if she was all right, thinking, I'm all right now. I'll go and see how Anne is. And she asked me a question. She said, David, I said, you all right, Anne? She went, no, not really. Why did you survive the accident? And why did my son die and you survive? And I went, oh. And that question for about 3 weeks was running round this head going ba 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 ba, and I had such a bad feeling. I just wanted to kill myself, and I thought I can't live with that question any longer.
Right.
And I went back to the house I was renting a room off at the time, and the lady, who was a bit eccentric to say the least, said to me one night, she said, "You all right?" So I said, "I'll just go to my room." She went, "I'd like to give you a reading." And I went, "Oh God." I said, "What's one of them?" She went, "You know, where I talk to the dead." And I went, "No, you're all right." I said, I've got enough problems talking to the living." I said, "No, you're all right." She said, "Yeah, he said that." I said, "Who?" She said, "Your best friend who died in the accident 5 years ago." And I just started shaking like a leaf. I said, "What are you doing here?" And I got really angry. I said, What are you doing? What game are you playing here?" I said, "Stop this." She said, "Sit down, calm down, sit down." And what followed was basically she gave me my best friend's middle name, which we referred to him as Sean. She gave me his first name, which was on his birth certificate, because I asked that question.
Yeah.
And she gave me his surname, Dyer, but he pronounced it Dier, and she gave me that answer as well. And I went, she said, "Now do you believe that he's here talking to me?" I went, "It's either that or this is the best gotcha ever."
Yeah.
This is insane. She said, "Well, just ask any more questions." So I said, "Okay. Did he have a brother or brothers?" She went, "Yeah, one." "What's his name?" "Michael." I said, "Sisters?" "Oh yeah, two. Helen and Anne." She just gave me all the details.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And I'm calming down, slowly calming down. She said, "You've just got a few things to put your way now that you've asked him questions. Is it all right if he asks you?" So I said, "Yeah, fire away." She said, "Number one, do you want to know why you were lifted out of an accident by an unknown force to keep you alive?" And I just started to cry and cry and cry. And she said, "And he's just told me you're suicidal. And he's just told me that the reason why you're suicidal is because um, you've just seen his mum 3 weeks ago." And I'm like, "Did I?" And I'm like, just so emotional, so liberating as well. It was that was the awakening really of the shamanic Heyoka empath. Although I'd been displaying the personality traits from the age of 6 right the way through to 34, where I was at the time. And um, it got to the point in that particular reading where I thought, shit, if people exist after they die. That was my wake up.
Oh, okay. So until that point, you hadn't really sort of thought about that in life.
No, I'd been to spiritualist church. I'd seen other people receive messages. I'd received the odd message myself, but not to the extent of that. But that was only from friends who were interested in that aspect of life. And then he said, the coup de grace, really. He just he gave the message to through Janet, who was giving me the reading at the time, and she just said, "He's just told me to say that you've got a mind puzzle to work out. When you work it out, this mind puzzle, you'd be remembered for the next 1,000 years, because the knock-on effect of you working this out and resolving the issue that you've got yourself will be that you will end up resolving the biggest issue on the planet." And I'm going, what's the biggest issue on the planet? Little did I know that the biggest issue on the planet is that we're all being traumatized, and the children are being abused from as early age as possible so that they can feed off us in any way they want, through the food, through the adrenochrome, and through every bloody other aspect. So the nature of my work is endemic for resolving what's going on this planet now. The nature of it, and it's effortless in terms of how to do it. And I was going to do a live demo.
What, do you want to do a live demo on me?
No, if you got anybody who could just tap in randomly, so we know that it's not been set up.
Oh, okay. Well, I can probably see if I can find you one, actually.
Go on.
We'll do that. We'll have a musical break, and then we'll see if we can find you a live demo.
Let's do it, because I'm the only person who does that. I'm the only person who's prepared to go live randomly from the millions all over the world to do that. Yeah, because this is not my process. This is God's. I'm not a healer. I know Charlie Ward says it, Mark Atwood, everybody who interviews go, oh, God, what a great healer. I'm not. This is a process where anybody who wants to be healed can heal themselves using their own mind, body, and spirit. We disconnect it by using the Holy Spirit, which is the breath, which is stated quite clearly in the Keys of Enoch, which I've uncovered on my way from being. My wife used to go, David, when are you going to get paid for all these bloody work you're doing with these football teams? And I'd go, I don't want to be paid. And she'd go, what do you mean I don't want to be paid? I said, the currency is not to be payment. Not payment, it's appreciation. They didn't think it was me, so I told them to do one. But they've got 90 million in the bank because of you, because we're going to get relegated. They've won 5 of the previous. She knows my story off by heart, so she'd repeat it like this, and so she'd send me to these psychic mediums, and they go, David, what's this Heyoka? And I'd go, this was the first one. I go, I haven't got a clue. I'd be just so irreverent, dismissive of them. So the more you're light of heart when you're being given a reading, the stronger the connection to the spirit, allegedly. So they'd go, well, David, I've just been told by my guides, from your guides, that this process you use is actually was used by a Heyoka, whatever that is, and the Master Buddha became enlightened. And I'd go, oh, yeah, I said I can confirm that for you. Not. What the hell are you on about, love? And they'd go, and not one, but another 2 or 3 mediums consecutive years would say the same, more or less same thing, different people. And I'd say, yeah, she told me that last year. And they go, you've not done any research on it? I go, no, how can that serve me? And of course, wherever I went, whether it was in the schools when I'd worked out how, I'll explain more without talking blind here and just explaining the theory without actually people seeing it, because the human mind works on its own belief filters. We only see what we believe.
Yeah,
what I mean,
that's a whole a whole
because it covers up.
Because this is what I keep saying to people: you're reality creators. Be careful what you're creating.
Yeah, because it's all based on beliefs. And if, like when you're looking in the fridge and the open front door, the fridge door, and you're trying to find the butter or the cheese, and the butter and the cheese is right in front of you. But if you never put the cheese or the butter back, your mind is going, it's not there. It's definitely not there. So, of course, when somebody comes along and they go, it's there, and you go,
where did I not see that? Like the keys, isn't it? When you can't find your car keys. Same thing. Right, let's dive into a quick Rise Up. Next song.
Yes.
Does this come from
432 again?
432 Hertz, Elise. Right, Jude, if you wouldn't mind, if we can quickly jump into Rise Up, please, this morning. I'm going to see if I can find you someone when we've got about 10 minutes left.
Come on.
And you're off air.
Right, I don't know what do you need, person-wise?
Anyone who wants to be well and wants to clear a trauma, or wants to get rid of their anxiety or the depression or the suicidal thoughts or whatever. Something that's quite painful for them, so they'll know there's a before and after, and they'll go,
have you got enough time in 10 minutes to do it?
Of course, easy.
Find you a traumatized person really quickly.
Yeah. Someone who's suffering from anxiety or suicidal thoughts or depression, because I can work with them after the session, after here as well. I'll do it for free. So they really got to, they're suffering, but they really want help. And they'd be like, oh my God, I'd love to do it, yeah. And tell them, obviously, that it's closed content. You don't have to tell me a thing.
Yeah. Hello, Bob. Are you listening to the radio? Are you listening to the radio? Oh, are you? I can't bother you then for one quick second. We're on the radio. David just wanted to do a demonstration of what he does. Would you be happy to do something on air? He can get rid of a little bit of trauma for you. Are you happy to do that? Right, Bob, do you know the, can I ping you over the Zoom link for you to jump in? All right, quick, bye.
Tell you what, he lives up to his name, doesn't he? He bobs in and bobs out.
Let me just find her. It's a she, actually.
Oh.
I've just got to find the message I sent to you.
Fancy me getting that wrong.
Right. Let me just forward that to Bobby. Forward. On air.
Hey guys. I just wanted to say Hugh is tuning in from the bus here. I've got you guys on a big PA speaker.
All right, morning.
And he says, what an absolute privilege to have the two of you on the station.
Oh,
Nice.
well, you're more than welcome. We're loving being here this morning. We're just ashamed we've not got 2 hours to do this. Bobby's online. She's going to be Zoom. Django, Bobby will be coming in the Zoom room in a minute. She'll be loading herself up and appearing. We finish at 10.
She's not a clone, is she? Loading her up. It sounds like one of these movie things that's going with Mr. Biden. Brandon, I mean...
Biden Brandon. So,
30 seconds.
How much? 30. Bobby will be coming in a minute, Jude. So you'll see someone appear who'll want to come into the Zoom room.
All right.
So she should be en route. She's online. So, yeah, David, keep an eye on the time. And I'll say to Bobby,
10 seconds.
You'll finish this one. Give me 1 minute at the end of the show.
Kindasound Radio, the station for a global community.
You're on air.
And welcome back. So David has kindly offered to clear up a little bit of something for someone this morning, live on air. So I've just sent a friend of mine a link to jump on the Zoom meeting and come in here and have a live cleanup. So we're just waiting for her at the moment. So in the meantime, we're just going to chat about the process then, David. So
hello.
How does it work, what you're about to do?
Oh, effortlessly and simplistically, with a puff of air and answering 2 questions, it's all gone.
Oh, and here she is. The lovely Bob's has arrived. Right. So I'm literally going to shut up now, guys. Bob, we don't have a lot of time to talk about how, what, why. But what David has said is that he'll do this afterwards as well for free for you as a session, so to complete stuff.
Okay.
So I'm just going to leave David and you chatting now. And I'm going to sit here and watch.
Okay. Hello, nice to meet you.
Hiya, Bobby. You must be really, really nuttery, you, to actually do this randomly like that. It's really good. Thanks for doing this. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Right. We'll just go cold. This is going to be effortless. You're going to be laughing a lot. You may actually go, oh, that's a bad feeling. And that'll be it, right? Okay. So I'll just do this as smooth and as quickly as possible. Yes. You ready? Without thinking, allow whatever is the current ongoing anxiety, depression, whatever the feeling is that you want to get rid of, okay? Without thinking, just allow the next bunch of memories to come in relation to the ongoing issue. If it is anxiety, let's go with that anxiety feeling that you have. So without thinking, just allow it to come in. You don't, that's it. Just go blank in the mind. That's it.
Now let me just turn my phone on silent.
That's okay.
Don't want that going off. Yeah, ready.
And just allow the memories to come in if you're feeling anxious. And be aware it's your own thoughts that create the anxiety.
Right.
Let me know when you've got the anxiety feeling. Yeah. Those feelings created by all the memories and all the thoughts have always created that feeling. Would you like to delete them all for good? Yes or no?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Yeah, Bobby, try and make sense of this, will you? Focus, grasshopper. You ready? Ding! Holy moly, what is it? Trauma. Now, sorry about that. It's random Tourette's. Wonderful thing. I mean, a terrible thing. Now, who'd have believed it? Yes. Now, does any of my You're like, does any of that make sense, Bobby? Yes or no? You shouldn't be laughing at that. It's dramatic. Yes. Now, good. You've said no, because this mind only holds on to things that are, oh, interesting. Now that makes sense. And this goes, no matter whether it makes you feel good or bad. However, if you say it doesn't make sense, the pincers in the wherever in the central nervous system there, that this can hold on to the feeling and create it as it's just done there randomly, will let go of it when you say it doesn't make sense. So now, hand on the lower abdomen for anyone medically not trained like me, hand on the belly button. And just put your hand on the belly button like that. Yep, just rest it on it. And keeping the mouth closed at all times, gently sniff the air in like this. Hold at the top of the breath. Just hold it there. Be aware the belly is inflated. Just give me a heads up, a nod of one way or the other. Yes, yes, yes. That means it's let go of it, because else it would have just sucked it in and pulled it in and said, no, we're not letting go of this. Okay, and now exhale in the belly like this. Oh, she's opened her mouth. Oh, she's terrible. You ready? Gentle breath in again. It's okay. Hold at the top of the breath for a couple of seconds, and then keeping the mouth closed this time. Perfect. And again, follow my rhythm. Sorry about that. It just comes out again, the Tourette's. And again, all I'm doing is distracting your mind into letting go of it by chuckling at my irreverent stupidity and tomfoolery. And again, gentle breath in. I thought I saw a pretty cat. I did. Yes, and again, gentle breath in. The cat's come for a cleaning. He said, I've got one myself here. Hey, will you stop laughing here? I'm trying to get rid of my own thoughts here. Feelings. And again, she's getting rid of it. Thank God for that. Thank God she's getting on my nerves. The invasion of the cat's clearing, yes. See, nothing can ever sabotage clearing this way, see? It's the inner work, yes. And again, gentle breath in. You say it again. Amnia's in there. You're in. And again. All of it is perfect. All of it is random. All of it doesn't make any difference, even if you open your mouth when you're laughing. What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at? He says, what are you laughing at? It doesn't seem funny around here. Again, gentle breath in. Again, keeping the mouth closed, just hold it at the top there. And then, and again, what are you doing? You don't usually breathe like that. There's something wrong with you. Just checking it out there. All I'm doing is just making you laugh at anything random that looks as though I'm talking about what's really going on. Yeah, again, just gentle breath in. And again, gentle breath in. Right, Bobby. I think we've done enough. I think the cat's gone now. She knows when it's gone, when the bad feeling's gone. Yes, as well. Very, very, very enlightened, these beings. Yeah. Has the bad feeling gone?
No, but I couldn't see what she was doing. Oh yeah.
That's why they call laughter the best form of medicine. If you can get tricked into laughing right after you created the bad feeling, it'll never come back again.
Yeah, I suppose your memory connects with that instead after a while. I suppose it rewires. Yeah.
Yeah. So every time now try and get the bad feeling back. Good luck with that. You can't help but laugh at
anyway.
Yeah. And that's the backwards fool. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And when somebody says, you've left me, I'll go, oh, that's great. And they go, why? Well, it was a bit of a twat, wasn't it? And they go, hey, well.
Are you going to say hello?
So that's the backwards fool.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
Bobby's just showing us her cat.
Yeah.
And it's very particular wording then as well, because it's a Sunday morning. I just want to say, Bob, stay there for a minute. I just want to say, number one, Bobby, thank you for just jumping in at last minute. I know you was literally just about to go out the door.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bobby.
I'll put you
You
guys
do
in
this to me all the
contact with
time,
each other.
don't you, Wendy?
I do, yeah. I do some random stuff, but I knew you'd have.
2 minutes.
Yeah, just get on Zoom now. We've got some trauma to clear. This always happens.
Are you sure it was trauma, Bobby? Are you sure it was trauma? Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely deep rooted.
Oh dear. But what I'll do is thank you very much. I'll put you two in contact on WhatsApp
Okay.
so you can finish.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Just stay there, Bob. Stay there, Bob, till we're done. David, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've not really got into half of that I wanted to talk to you about, so we'll have to do this again. Maybe I'll have you and your beautiful wife back as a team.
Part two.
Part
Yes.
2. Team
The
Rogers.
return of the Heyoka.
Team Rogers return. That sounds like a plan. What we are going to do. Oh, David, just briefly, if people want to get hold of you, how do they do that?
www.davidianrogers.com or davidianrogers@gmail.com.
There you go, nice and simple, guys. So I hope you have enjoyed it. You really need to go and watch the video because it has been masses of fun this morning. So I hope you've all enjoyed that listening in. Thank you, guys, producers, for giving us a little bit of extra time to do that. And we are going to play out. I'll let the guys play out now with some real love. So thank you to all the listeners. Thank you, David. Thank you, Bobby. And Django and Jude, if you wouldn't mind, a bit of
Thanks,
real
Wendy.
love.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Django. Thanks, Jude.
You're off air.
Real love.
Oh,
Real love.
nice one,
Real
guys.
love.
That's been fun this morning.